TKJBricks here, welcome back to another LEGO review. Today we're taking a look at the LEGO Marvel set number 76316. This is the Fantastic Four vs Galactus construction figure. This bad boy comes with 427 pieces altogether and retails for £55 here in the UK. And at the time of recording this video, this is the only set being made for the new Fantastic Four First Steps movie. As we can see here, the packaging on the box does have more of a retro feel with the aesthetic there matching the movie promos, as well as seeing the Mr. Fantastic figure there on the top of the box. Looking at the back of the packaging here, we can see Galactus in all his glory, as well as all the four members of the Fantastic Four, as well as a few sneak peeks for the play features of Galactus himself. So let's get this open and have an in-depth look at the set itself. So jumping straight into the minifigures in this set, first of all we have Pedro Pascal himself, Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards, who immediately out the box looks absolutely incredible. I'll try not to say fantastic too many times during this review, but the blue azure colour here used for the minifigure's torso and legs look absolutely perfect, and the printing on the torso as well matches his movie appearance quite well. I know a few people have made some complaints around the face print there, but I think the skin tone and the print itself is a pretty close match to who we see in the movie. On the topic of this, we also get the dual-sided face. They have a slightly happier expression for Reed Richards. I think both sides of the print on his face look great, but I do wish he did get one more serious expression for the figure also. Moving on from the face prints, we do also get an accessory for Mr. Fantastic, which include his elasticated legs, stretchy legs, whatever you want to call them. The blue, obviously, perfect colour match, but they don't look the greatest when on the figure, but either way, it's a great addition. Moving on, we now have Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. All the minifigures in this set do share the same torso, with the one exception being Reed Richards having no white print on the collar area. But again, I think it's fine, they all share the same torso, they all look great. It's a great colour match, great print match to the costumes worn in the movies, and although the lack of printed legs is obviously a great downside, I think the figure looks great regardless. The face print here, used for Sue Storm, if I'm not mistaken, has been used many times throughout Star Wars, Marvel, especially in using in Jyn Erso and Padme, but I think it's a pretty good match to the actress herself, so I'm not too bothered around the reuse of the face print there. She also does come with the two transparent discs, which you can use as her accessories also. Moving on from Sue Storm, we now have her brother Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who again shares the exact same torso print and legs with the rest of the group. Again, fantastic looking costume itself there. The face print again is quite a common one used, but I think it works for the simple kind of more happy nature of the character from the movie. And the hairpiece is probably my one criticism with this particular figure, as anyone who's watched Fantastic Four knows it's not quite the same haircut he's rocking throughout the movie, but either way it's a pretty close match and doesn't detract from the figure too much. Like the rest of Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm also has a dual-sided face, this one being more of a scared expression, which is good to get a bit of variety with the characters included in the set, as well as also having flame piece accessories to represent his powers. And finally we have Ben Grimm, the Thing. This is the probably most controversial figure included within this set, particularly for the choice of using a regular minifigure body as opposed to a big fig, or even something of the likes of Mr. Incredible been used previously. Whilst I don't think a big fig should have been used given the scale of him in the movie itself, I do agree that he does look slightly too small using only the regular minifigure body. To try and get around this, LEGO have included these bulkier kind of glove hands, if you will, which are a perfect colour match to his head print, as well as the rocky headpiece which forms both his head and eyebrows, which do cover up quite a bit of the print there we see on the figure himself. Despite using the same torso as the rest of the cast, I do think the face print is a great way to differentiate him, as well as the bulkier hand and headpiece do make him stand out from the rest. Moving on to the main build itself, straight away from a finish in this set, the colours alone from Galactus really popped out, and if you're anyone like me who mainly collects Star Wars or sort of more mainline Marvel builds, that there's a lot of grey and black and regular sort of looking sets, whereas this one with the purple colours really does stand out from the rest of the collection. Another great feature of the set as well is just the fact that it makes its own diorama in a way, with all the figures being able to connect to Galactus in various ways, and the flight stand included with Human Torch really do make the set its own sort of scene without having to include any other builds or assemblies around Galactus itself. Moving on to the articulation of the figure itself, because what this in essence is just a buildable figure with some minifigs included. We'll start off with the headpiece here with the main crown area above his head. Not only do we get the printed piece there showing Galactus' face, but we have the articulated horns around the side of the head, as well as a regular ball joint on the neck, allowing you to rotate the head 360 degrees. Not too sure what the purpose is to be able to move the horns on the helmet there, but either way you can get them in the right angle there and they look great once they're in position. Moving on from the head articulation, we go down to the chest piece here. Now unfortunately the circular design you see on his chest is a sticker, but once it's applied it does look great. And as we can see here, you can also rotate the torso On the back of the figure we can see this axle point connector where you can apply the flight stand for Human Torch, as we can see here, which allow for Human Torch or any other figures you like to be able to sort of fly behind the figure and really add to that sort of diorama effect that the figure provides. Moving down to the rest of the figure, we next up have the arms. Now, straight off the bat, you get a great range of motion from the shoulder, but you do have to move this part here in order to move the arm above the armor plating there he has on his shoulders, which allow for a much more maneuverability with the arm itself. As well as that, the elbow does give you a nice bend there, almost touching up to his shoulder alone, as well as articulation with ball joints on the hand also. As we can see here, pretty good range of motion, even with the head getting in the way, as well as fully posable hand and articulated fingers. And the tile piece you see with the stud there does allow for minifigures to be held by Galactus. Simply placing a figure on the stud there, again, allows for some more scenes to be made and treats the set almost more like a diorama. Moving to the bottom half of Galactus, we now have the sort of skirt piece area, which is unfortunately comprised entirely of stickers. But again, like the chest piece, once you get it on there, they do look great, and the colours again really do pop out with the rest of the pink purple elements on him. Some interesting pieces used here to formulate the skirt around the figure, and the only other downside to these is that they do limit the articulation somewhat with the legs moving down to the rest of the figure. Luckily, there is some maneuverability with each of these pieces, so whatever positions and angles you want to get the figure in, you're able to accommodate that with the skirt as well. Now onto the legs. As you can see here, at the knee you get a fairly good bend, which obviously is slightly compromised there by the skirt piece as mentioned earlier, but you can get your leg out to a fair distance in front of him, as well as out to the side also. Sticking with the legs here, moving down to the lower part, we can see he has these rather strangely designed flat feet, which get a lot of motion left and right, but nothing much really up and down, which is slightly confusing. Not quite sure why they decided to go with that sort of method. Out of the whole figure itself, I would say the feet are probably the weakest part, which have been designed with this in mind to allow you to place a figure on top there for another connection point. But the feet alone do sort of look a bit odd, more like he's wearing sandals than anything, and do kind of detract from the figure a little bit if you haven't got anything else going on underneath Galactus. This is just another example of iconic scenes from the film you can try and recreate with your own set, and again really do just add to the fact that they've made this not only a buildable figure in the same sense of the Spider-Man and Green Goblin sets we've gotten previously, but the fact that it almost acts as its own scene itself with all the different connection points and articulation with the figure, allowing you to recreate moments like this from the movie, as well as going further than that, including it with your own mocks and your own Lego City builds, to really make Galactus feel more of a presence in any sort of build that you're doing. In terms of scale with the minifigs included, I do think this works really well with the minifigures. Obviously, if this was going to be a movie scale Galactus, this would cost way too much and be so many more pieces. But I think given the constraints of the 427 pieces, $50 or so price tag, I think he does look well with the minifigs given the size that he is. Ultimately, whether displayed with other Marvel builds or by himself with the Fantastic Four, this set is definitely an eye catcher and stands out for any Fantastic Four fan. Now, to try and get a better idea for the scale of this figure for anyone who's still on the fence whether to purchase this, I thought I'd do a few size comparisons. So the first one here we have is the Hoth ATST, released back in 2022, I believe. Now, these two stand at a fairly similar height, obviously Galactus being slightly taller there with his crown peeking over. But the overall profile of these builds, I'd say, is somewhat similar, and anyone who owns this particular set can get a better idea of how big Galactus comes to. And for those of you who may not be a Star Wars fan but do like Transformers, the next comparison we have here is the LEGO Ideas Bumblebee set. Now again, Galactus is slightly taller than Bumblebee, but again they have a very similar profile here, so anyone who owns this particular set can get a good sort of estimate as to what Galactus is going to look like on their shelf. For being so fewer pieces than Bumblebee, it is impressive how Galactus does manage to keep such a strong presence on a shelf and almost outmatches Bumblebee in. So my final thoughts on this set is definitely worth picking up for anyone who enjoyed the new Fantastic Four movie. Seeing this is the first time we've ever got on the Fantastic Four in LEGO form, it's definitely a great way to pick up the whole team with some solid minifigs and a great Galactus build. For the £55 here in the UK, I'd probably recommend waiting for a deal for maybe £45 at most, as it does feel a little bit steep for the price tag considering the piece count and the simple minifigs. But either way, for any Marvel fan, Fantastic Four fan, this is definitely worth picking up and definitely something to add to the collection before it retires. As well as being the only Fantastic Four set ever made, it's also the only Fantastic Four set being made for this movie as far as we know so far. So it's definitely, again, another reason to pick this one up and make sure you grab all the figures from the movie if you did enjoy the new rendition of the Fantastic Four. I'm hoping to see more sets from this movie in the future. It'd be great to get a Fantastic card to be able to put with this set, as well as a minifigure of the new Silver Surfer as well to go with Galactus perfectly. That's enough of me talking for now. What do you guys think of this set? Let me know down in the comments below whether you're going to be picking this one up. As well as that, let me know down in the comments what set you'd like me to review next. Hope you enjoyed this review and thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for the next one and I'll see you then.